ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಸ್ವಾಗತ. ಇವತ್ತು ವಿಶ್ವ ತೊನ್ನು ದಿನ, ಜೂನ್ 25. ಬಿಳಿ ತೊನ್ನು ಅಥವಾ ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವೇನು ವಿಟಿಲಿಗೋ ಅಂತ ಬಹಳ ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಕರಿತೇವೆ. ಇದು ನೀವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಜೀವಿತ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಕಂಡಿರಬಹುದಾದಂಥ, ಕೆಲವರು ಅನುಭವಿಸಿರಬಹುದಾದಂಥ, ಅಥವಾ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕುಟುಂಬದವರಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂಧು ಮಿತ್ರರಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿರಬಹುದಾದಂಥ ಒಂದು ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ. ಜಗತ್ತಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಸುಮಾರು 1-2% ಜನರಲ್ಲಿ ಇದು ಕಂಡು ಬರ್ತದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಲಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಭಾರತದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಸುಮಾರು ಅದೇ ಪ್ರಮಾಣದಲ್ಲಿ ತೊನ್ನು ಕಂಡು ಬರ್ತದೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲೂ ಗುಜರಾತ್ ರಾಜ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ಸುಮಾರು 8-9% ಜನರಲ್ಲಿ ತೊನ್ನಿನ ಕಾಯಿಲೆ, ಅಂದರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಕಡೆಗಿಂತ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿ ಕಂಡು ಬರ್ತದೆ. ಆದರೆ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಬಾಲಸರಸ್ವತಿ ಅವರು ಹೇಳುವ ಹಾಗೆ ಅವರ ಅನುಭವದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರು ಏನು ಕಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಇತ್ತೀಚಿನ ವರ್ಷಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಸಣ್ಣ ವಯಸ್ಸಿನಲ್ಲಿ, ಅದರಲ್ಲೂ ಬಹಳ ಕಿರಿಯ ವಯಸ್ಸಿನ ಮಕ್ಕಳಲ್ಲಿಯೂ ಕೂಡ ಈ ತೊನ್ನು ಆರಂಭ ಆಗುವುದನ್ನು ಅವರು ಗುರುತಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಗಮನದಲ್ಲಿಟ್ಟುಕೊಂಡು ಕಳೆದ 10-15 ವರ್ಷಗಳಿಂದ ತೊನ್ನಿನ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ವಿಶೇಷವಾದ ಅಧ್ಯಯನವನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ತನ್ನದೇ ಆದ ವಿಶಿಷ್ಟ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರು ಚಿಕಿತ್ಸೆಯನ್ನು ನೀಡ್ತಾ ಇರುವ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೆ ತನ್ನ ಅನುಭವಗಳನ್ನು ಇವತ್ತು ಈ ಒಂದು ವಿಶಿಷ್ಟವಾದ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಹಂಚಿಕೊಳ್ಳುವ ಒಂದು ಇರಾದೆಯಿಂದ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ನಾವು ಇವತ್ತು ಆಯೋಜಿಸಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಈ ಜೂನ್ 25ರಂದು ವಿಶ್ವ ತೊನ್ನು ದಿನವನ್ನು ಯಾಕೆ ಆಚರಣೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ ಅಂತ ಅದಕ್ಕೊಂದು ಹಿನ್ನೆಲೆ ಇದೆ. ಈ ವಿಶ್ವ ತೊನ್ನು ದಿನದ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಉದ್ದೇಶ ತೊನ್ನಿನ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಇರುವಂಥ ತಪ್ಪು ಕಲ್ಪನೆಗಳನ್ನ ದೂರ ಮಾಡುವಂಥದ್ದು, ಜನರಿಗೆ ಇದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನು ನೀಡುವಂಥದ್ದು, ಧೈರ್ಯ ತುಂಬುವಂಥದ್ದು, ಮತ್ತು ತೊನ್ನಿನಿಂದ ಯಾರಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ತೊನ್ನು ಇದೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ಧೈರ್ಯ ತುಂಬುವಂಥದ್ದು, ಅವರ ಎಲ್ಲ ಅವ್ರು ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಅವರು ಸಾಕಾರಗೊಳಿಸಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ ನೆರವು ನೀಡುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಈ ಜೂನ್ 25 ಯಾಕೆ ವಿಶೇಷ ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಜೂನ್ 25 ನಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಕಂಡಿರುವ ಕೇಳಿರುವ ಪಾಪ್ ಗಾಯಕರಿದ್ದರು ಮೈಕೆಲ್ ಜಾಕ್ಸನ್. ಅವರು ಮೃತಪಟ್ಟ ದಿವಸ 2009 ಜೂನ್ 25ರಂದು ಅವರು ಮೃತರಾದರು. ಸೊ ಯಾರು ಈ ಬಿಳಿ ತೊನ್ನಿನ ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ರು ಜನರ ಮಧ್ಯೆ, ಅವರು ಮೈಕೆಲ್ ಜಾಕ್ಸನ್ ಅವರ ಸ್ಮೃತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಗೌರವಪೂರ್ವಕವಾಗಿ ಜೂನ್ 25ರಂದೇ ವಿಶ್ವ ತೊನ್ನು ದಿನವನ್ನು ಆಯೋಜಿಸುವ ಯೋಚನೆಯನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿದರು. ಅಂದಿನಿಂದ 2011ರಿಂದ ಈಗ ಇದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಪ್ರತಿ ವರ್ಷ ವಿಶ್ವ ತೊನ್ನು ದಿನ ಅಂತ ಆಚರಣೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ. ಸೊ ಮೈಕೆಲ್ ಜಾಕ್ಸನ್ ತನ್ನ ಎಳವೆಯಲ್ಲಿಯೇ ತೊನ್ನನ್ನು ಹೊಂದಿದ್ರು. ಆನಂತರ ಅವರ ಅಂತ್ಯದವರೆಗೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಅದು ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಅವರು ಎದುರಿಸಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಕಷ್ಟಪಡಬೇಕಾಯಿತು. ಆದರೂ ಕೂಡ ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಮೆಟ್ಟಿ ನಿಂತು ಅವರು ವಿಶ್ವದ ಅತ್ಯಂತ ಶ್ರೇಷ್ಠ ಪಾಪ್ ಗಾಯಕರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಬ್ಬರಾಗಿ ಬೆಳೆದದ್ದು ನಿಮಗೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಈ ವಿಶೇಷ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಬಾಲಸರಸ್ವತಿ ಅವರು ತೊನ್ನಿನ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮುಂದೆ ಇವತ್ತು ಅವರು ಹಂಚಿಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆನಂತರ ನೀವು ಯಾವತ್ತಿನ ಹಾಗೆ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳನ್ನು ಕೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಅದರಿಂದ ಮೊದಲಿನ ಒಂದು 5-6 ನಿಮಿಷಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಆದದಕ್ಕೆ ಕ್ಷಮೆ ಇರಲಿ. ಈಗ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಬಾಲಸರಸ್ವತಿ ಅವರು ಮಾತಾಡಬೇಕಂತ ನಾನು ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಂಡು.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ. ಇವತ್ತು ನನಗೆ ಒಂದು ವಿಶೇಷ ದಿನ, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅರ್ಥ ನನಗೆ ಒಂದು ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿಯ ದಿನ. ಇದು ಯಾಕೆಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಈ ತೊನ್ನು ಕಾಯಿಲೆ ಅಥವಾ ತೊನ್ನು ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಒಂದು ತಪ್ಪು ಕಲ್ಪನೆ, ಮಿತ್ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಸ್ಟಿಗ್ಮಾ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ಅದರಿಂದಾಗಿ ಈ ಕಾಯಿಲೆಯಿಂದ ತುಂಬಾ ಜನ ಮಾನಸಿಕ ತೊಂದರೆಯಲ್ಲೂ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಅದಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ನಾನು ಈ 26 ವರ್ಷ ನನ್ನ ಡೆಮಟಾಲಜಿ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟೀಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಂದು ಈ ತೊನ್ನು ಕಾಯಿಲೆಯ ಹಿನ್ನೆಲೆಯನ್ನು ತಿಳಿಯುವುದು, ಮತ್ತೆ ಅದು ಯಾವ ಟ್ರೀಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅದನ್ನು ಗುಣಪಡಿಸಲು ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಾನು ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡೇ ಇದ್ದೆ. ಸೊ ಇದರಿಂದ ನನಗೆ ಅದರ ಬೇಸಿಕ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಿ ನಾನು ಒಂದು ಸಕ್ಸಸ್ಫುಲ್ ಟ್ರೀಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ನನ್ನ ಪೇಷಂಟಿಗೆ, ಈ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಇರೋ ಪೇಷಂಟ್ಸಿಗೆ ನಾನು ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬಾ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಪರಿಣಾಮ, ಅದು ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದ ಹಾಗೆ ಮಾಡಿದವರು ತುಂಬಾ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಪರಿಣಾಮ ತೋರಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಸಣ್ಣ ವಯಸ್ಸಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಅರ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್ ಬಂದವರು ಗುಣಮುಖರು ಆಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಆದ ಕಾರಣ ನಾನು ಈ ದಿವಸ ಆ ತೊನ್ನು ಕಾಯಿಲೆ ಹಿನ್ನೆಲೆ, ಅದು ಯಾಕೆ, ಹೇಗೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಹೇಗೆ ತಡಿಬಹುದು, ಅದನ್ನು ಹೇಗೆ ಗುಣಪಡಿಸಬಹುದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಾನು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ವೈಜ್ಞಾನಿಕ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಒಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ವಿಡಿಯೋದಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಮೊಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಹಂಚಿಕೊಳ್ತೇನೆ. ಆರಂಭದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ನನ್ನ ಮೆಸೇಜ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ನನ್ನ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಕೊಡ್ತೇನೆ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳನ್ನು ನೀವು ಕೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಮೊಟ್ಟ ಮೊದಲಿಗೆ ಬಿಳಿ ತೊನ್ನು ಇದು ಒಂದು ಶಾಪವೂ ಅಲ್ಲ, ದೋಷವೂ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಇದು ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿ ಇದು ನಾನು ಯಾಕೆ ಇದನ್ನು ಹೇಳ ಬಯಸ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಈ ಕಾಯಿಲೆ ಹಿನ್ನೆಲೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿ ಈಗ ಜನರಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಅವೇರ್ನೆಸ್ ಬಂದು ತಿಳಿದಿರ್ಬೋದೋ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಬಟ್ ಮೊದ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಈ ಕಾಯಿಲೆ ಇದ್ದವರೆಲ್ಲ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಶಾಪ, ನಾಗದೋಷ ಅಂತ ತಿಳಿದು ಈ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಅನ್ಸೈಂಟಿಫಿಕ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಮಡೆ ಸ್ನಾನ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಮತ್ತೆ ಉರುಳು ಸೇವೆ ಮಾಡಿಸುವುದು, ಈ ದೈಹಿಕವಾಗಿ ತುಂಬಾ ತೊಂದರೆ, ಇದರಿಂದಾಗಿ ದೈಹಿಕವಾಗಿ ತುಂಬಾ ತೊಂದರೆ ಉಂಟಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ಇದು ಒಂದು ವೈಜ್ಞಾನಿಕವಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ಇದನ್ನ ಈ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಅನ್ನ ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನ ತಿಳಿದು ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಸರಿಪಡಿಸಲು ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇದೆ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಇದು ಒಬ್ಬರಿಂದ ಒಬ್ಬರಿಗೆ ಹರಡುವುದಿಲ್ಲ, ಇದು ಹರಡುವ ಕಾಯಿಲೆ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಅದು ಅಲ್ಲದೆ ಇದು ತೀರಾ ಜೆನೆಟಿಕ್ ಅಂತನೂ ಹೇಳಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗುದಿಲ್ಲ. ಯಾಕೆಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಈಗ ನಾವು 100 ಜನ ತೊನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದವರಲ್ಲಿ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿ ಹಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಕೇಳಿದಾಗ ಒಂದು 20ರಲ್ಲಿ ವಂಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಬ್ಬರಿಗಿತ್ತು, ಇಬ್ಬರಿಗಿತ್ತು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳೋ ಹಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಬರ್ತದೆ. ಆದ್ರೆ ತೊನ್ನು ಎಲ್ಲರಲ್ಲಿ ವಂಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದೇ ಬರುದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗುದಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಇದು ಮಲ್ಟಿಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೋರಿಯಲ್, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇದು ಎನ್ವೈರನ್ಮೆಂಟಲ್ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ, ಬಯೋಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್, ಅದು ಅಲ್ಲದೆ ಇಮ್ಯುನಾಲಜಿಕಲ್ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್, ಹಾಗೆ ಇದು ಮಲ್ಟಿಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೋರಿಯಲ್. ಸೊ ಒಂದೇ ಕಾರಣದಿಂದ ಇದು ಜೆನೆಟಿಕ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗುದಿಲ್ಲ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಇದು ಫಿಸಿಕಲಿ ಏಸಿಂಪ್ಟಮ್ಯಾಟಿಕ್, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಅದರಿಂದ ತುರಿಕೆ ಇಲ್ಲ, ನೋವು ಇಲ್ಲ, ಉರಿ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಅದರಿಂದ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯೂ ನಮ್ಗೆ ದೈಹಿಕ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳಿರುವುದಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಆದ್ರೆ ಇದರಿಂದ ಆಗೋ ಒಂದು ಮಾನಸಿಕ ಗೊಂದಲ ಮಾತ್ರ ಅಪಾರ. ಇದು ಯಾಕೆಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ಸಮಾಜದಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಇರುವ ಅವೈಜ್ಞಾನಿಕ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ನಾವು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಮಿತ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ, ಇದು ಇದ್ದ ಕಾರಣ ಈ ಒಂದು ಸಮಾಜದಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಇರುವವರು ಎದುರಿಸ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತಾರೆ. ನಾವು ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಸಂಸಾರ ಈ ತೊನ್ನು ಇದ್ದ ವಂಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಮದುವೆ ಆಗದಿರುವುದನ್ನು ಕೇಳಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಹೆತ್ತವರಲ್ಲಿ ಇದು ತೊನ್ನಿದ್ರೆ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ನೆಂಟಸ್ತಿಗೆ ಬಾರದಿರುವುದನ್ನು ಕೇಳಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಮದುವೆ ಆದವರು ಡೈವರ್ಸ್ ಆಗುವುದನ್ನು ಕೇಳಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಇದು ಎಲ್ಲ ಒಂದು ಅಪಾರ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್. ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ಗೆ ಇಂಥ ಒಂದು ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಸರಿ ಅಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ನನ್ಗೆ ಅನಿಸ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ಅದನ್ನ ನಾನು ಎಷ್ಟರ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಈ ತರ ಒಂದು ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ಕಿಗೆ ಅವೇರ್ನೆಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಜನರಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾಯಿಲೆಗೆ ಅವರ ಒಂದು ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಒಂದು ಪರ್ಸೆಪ್ಷನ್ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡುವ ಒಂದು ಉದ್ದೇಶ ನನ್ನದು. ಸೊ ಹೋಪ್ಫುಲಿ ನಾನು ಅದರಿಂದ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಆದ್ರೂ ಸಕ್ಸಸ್ಫುಲ್ ಆಗ್ತೇನೆ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ನಂಬುತ್ತೇನೆ. ಈಗ ಈ ಕಾಯಿಲೆ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಈ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಮಾಜದಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸಿಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಇದೆ. ಏನಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಅವರನ್ನ ಸ್ವೀಕರಿಸಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ಈ ತೊನ್ನು ಇದ್ದ ಕೂಡಲೇ ಅವರನ್ನ ಕೀಳಾಗಿ ನೋಡುದಾಗ್ಲಿ, ಅವರನ್ನ ಬೇರೆ ಇಡುವುದಾಗ್ಲಿ, ಅವರಿಗೆ ಅವಕಾಶಗಳನ್ನು ಕೊಡದಿರುವುದಾಗಿ, ಇದು ಯಾವುದು ನಾವು ಮಾಡಬಾರ್ದು. ಅವರಿಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲರಂತೆ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಹೇಗೆ ನಾವು ಅವಕಾಶಗಳನ್ನು ಕೊಡ್ತೇವೆ ಹಾಗೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಅವರನ್ನು ನಾವು ಎಂಪವರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಅವರನ್ನು ನಾವು ಮಾನಸಿಕವಾಗಿ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟು, ಅವರಿಗೆ ಧೈರ್ಯ ಕೊಟ್ಟು, ಅವರಿಗೆ ಮುಂದೆ ಬರಲು ನಾವು ಅವರನ್ನ ಎಂಪವರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಅದು ಅಲ್ಲದೆ ನಾವು ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಅನ್ನ ಎಜುಕೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ವೈಜ್ಞಾನಿಕವಾಗಿ ಈ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಏನು ಅಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅದನ್ನ ತಿಳಿಸಿ ಜನರಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಎಷ್ಟಾಗ್ತದೆ ಅಷ್ಟು ಒಂದು ಎಜುಕೇಟ್ ಮಾಡುವ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು, ನಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಸೇರಿ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಅದು ಅಲ್ಲದೆ ನಾವು ಅವರಿಗೆ ಇದೊಂದು ದಿನ, ಬೇಸಿಕಲಿ ಇದೊಂದು ದಿನ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿರುವ ದಿನ. ಇದು 2011ರಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ದಿನವನ್ನು ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಪರ್ಪಲ್ ಫಂಡ್ ಡೇ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು. ಇದು ತೊನ್ನು ಕಾಯಿಲೆ ಇದ್ದವರು ಮತ್ತೆ ಅವರನ್ನು ನೋಡಿಕೊಳ್ಳೋರು ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಸೇರಿ ಅವರಿಗೊಂದು ಚೇತರಿಸ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ಒಂದು ಪರ್ಪಲ್ ಫಂಡ್ ಡೇ ಅಂತ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಇದು ಮಾತ್ರ ಗ್ಲೋಬಲಿ ರೆಕಗ್ನೈಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಇವಾಗ ಸಾಧಾರಣ ಒಂದು 11 ವರ್ಷ ಆಯ್ತು. ವಿಟಿಲಿಗೋ ಡೇ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ. ಇದು ವಿಟಿಲಿಗೋ ಡೇ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ದಿನದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಆ ವಿಟಿಲಿಗೋ ತೊನ್ನು ಇದ್ದವರಿಗೆ ಎಜುಕೇಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದಾಗ್ಲಿ, ಅವರಿಗೆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಅವಕಾಶ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ದಿನ. ಅದು ಅಲ್ಲದೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ ನಾವು ಅವರ ಕನಸನ್ನು ನನಸಾಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಎನ್ಕರೇಜ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಇದು ನಮ್ಮದು ಹೊಣೆ, ಸಮಾಜದಲ್ಲಿರುವ ನಮ್ಮ ಎಲ್ಲರ ಹೊಣೆ ಇದು. ಮತ್ತೆ ಅದು ಅಲ್ಲ, ನಾನು ಇವಾಗ ಹೇಳಿದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವೇರ್ನೆಸ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಇದು ಒಂದು ಈ ದಿನ ಒಂದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ಇಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ನಿಲ್ಲುವುದಿಲ್ಲ. ನಾನು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕನ್ವೆ ಮಾಡಿದ ಮೆಸೇಜ್ ಅದು ಮುಂದೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಒಬ್ಬರಿಂದೊಬ್ಬರಿಗೆ ಅದು ಕನ್ವೆ ಆಗಿ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಜನರಿಗೆ ಅದರಿಂದ ಏನೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾನಸಿಕ ತೊಂದರೆ ಉಂಟು ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗಲಿ ಸಹಾಯಕರಾಗಬೇಕು, ನಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಸಹಾಯಕರಾಗಬೇಕು. ಅದು ಅಲ್ಲದೆ ಪರ್ಸ್ನಲಿ ಈ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಹೊಂದಿಕೊಂಡಿರೋರಿಗೆ ನಾನು ಹೇಳುದಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, accept it as a derangement. It is not a disease. I don't call it as a disease. I just call it as a derangement. Accept it. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ನೀವು ಆಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. ಆವಾಗ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ, ನಿಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಒಂದು ಸಮಾಜದಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕಾನ್ಫಿಡೆನ್ಸ್ ಇಂಪ್ರೂವ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ನೀವು ಯಾವಾಗ ಮುಚ್ಚು ಮರೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಿ ಆವಾಗ ಜನರಲ್ಲಿ ಕುತೂಹಲನೂ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಅದು ಅಲ್ಲ, ಜನರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂಥರದ ಅವರೇ ಒಂಥರದ ವರ್ತನೆಯನ್ನು ನಿಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಯಾವಾಗ ಧೈರ್ಯದಿಂದ ನಿಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ವ್ಯತ್ಯಾಸ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಇದು ಒಂದು ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಕಲರ್ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ವರ್ತಿಸಿದ್ರೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಅವಾಗ ಕೇಳೋ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಯೂ ಬರುವುದಿಲ್ಲ, ಏನ್ ಹೇಳೋ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಯೂ ಬರುವುದಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ನೀವು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಲ್ ನೀವು ಆಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. ಎರಡನೇದು, ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಯು ಶುಡ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಅ ಪಾಸಿಟಿವ್ ಔಟ್ಲುಕ್. ವೈ ಐ ಸೇ ಇಸ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ದೇರ್ ಆರ್ ಸೋ ಮೆನಿ ಫಿಸಿಕಲಿ ಡೆಬಿಲಿಟೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್. Vitiligo is nothing compared to all those. It is just a change in the color, and the change in the color is again because of our own metabolic derangement which is causing that. So you should have a positive outlook. You shouldn't consider it as it's like a big disease or something very big, because it is totally benign condition. And moreover, you have to focus on the career and do not waste time or don't get overwhelmed by this condition. You have to focus on your career. Of course, you have to do the treatment whatever is required, and at the same time you have to focus on your career. At this juncture, I would like to tell you vitiligo is treatable and vitiligo is curable. So now I would like to deliberate using English, because, and of course there are Kannada translation also, because it's a medical condition. I would be more comfortable using English language. Now the question is how and why. It's a very important question. All of us should know how and why. Now, before telling how and why, I would like to just highlight on the normal skin. Okay, normal skin, the topmost layer of the normal skin is what we call as epidermis. This epidermis is made up of predominantly it's made up of 4 types of cells. Each cell has got its own responsibility, and predominant cell is keratinocyte, followed by melanocyte. This keratinocyte and melanocyte, they form one structural and functional unit. For every 1 melanocyte, we have 32 keratinocytes. So this is basically designed in such a way that melanocytes produce the pigment and they transfer via branches called melanosomes to the different layers of the keratinocyte. So this is a constant process. Now actually our skin is a constantly regenerating and renewing organ. So the pigment also should be constantly produced and distributed, and at the same time skin also needs to be constantly renewed. So when this process happens normally and in a balanced state, we all tend to have smooth skin with an even color, and this is what we call as normalcy. Now what's going wrong in the vitiligo? Now first, there is a crosstalk between this keratinocyte and melanocyte through various chemicals. We call it as chemical, it could be cytokines, growth factors, chemokines, whatever. So there is constant crosstalk between this melanocytes and keratinocytes, and this in turn, keratinocytes produces certain cytokines and growth factors which controls the melanocyte function. So when these cytokines and growth factors are in balance, so we tend to have a efficient melanocyte functioning. But what happens in vitiligo, it is found that there is imbalance in these cytokines and growth factors. So because of this imbalance, melanocytes do not get the enough stimulus from the keratinocytes to differentiate and produce the pigment. And that is the reason we start seeing the loss of color in the skin. Now, what is the reason for is keratinocytes not conveying the message properly? The most important reason is oxidative stress. And oxidative stress, what it does, it leads to increased production of cytokines called interleukin 1, interleukin 6, and tumor necrosis factor alpha. When I see this mention the cytokines, you would be hearing the cytokines play in almost all diseases. So finally, you should know that oxidative stress is responsible for most of our diseases today. So because of this oxidative stress, keratinocytes produces more of these cytokines which are inhibitory to melanocyte in one place. Another place is when the keratinocytes are overwhelmed with these cytokines, they themselves get destroyed. It is called, they undergo a process called programmed cell death. It's called apoptosis, and we tend to lose keratinocytes. So the melanocytes are affected in two ways. In one place, tumor necrosis factor alpha inhibits the melanocytes. In the place, tumor necrosis factor alpha destroys the keratinocytes. So there is no growth factors produced by the keratinocytes for the melanocytes. This imbalance leads to loss of melanocytes, which in turn leads to white patches. And this is how it happens. Normal keratinocytes, they tend to produce stem cell factor, endothelin, and basic fibroblast growth factors. When the keratinocytes disappear because of the overwhelmed oxidative stress, then we don't have these growth factors. So melanocytes doesn't differentiate, or they don't divide, and they don't produce the pigment. Now, that's actually oxidative stress is a predominant factor in vitiligo, although earlier it was called as mainly autoimmune disease, but now the oxidative stress in turn stimulates this autoimmunity, and this oxidative also leads to causes the changes in the melanocytes component, because this oxidative stress is nothing but increased generation of free radicals, and these free radicals, being highly reactive species, they are ever ready to combine with any molecule and make them inactive or change their configuration. Now, what happens in melanocytes is, because of these free radicals, the certain enzymes change, and because they change their nature, or they change their configuration, our body's immunity considers it as a neo-antigen, okay, something new, and tries to attack. So that is why the oxidative stress is responsible for change in the presentation of melanocytes and its protein, and in turn leading to the T cell attack, causing the loss of melanocytes. So it's actually interplay of oxidative stress and hyper immune T lymphocyte, which both together destroy the melanocytes. Now, this is actually what is oxidative stress? That's in the previous slide. Here, now I've shown the balance. Now, what is oxidative stress is, it's actually imbalance between free radicals and antioxidant system. And these free radicals are called as reactive oxygen species. They are called reactive, as I said, because they are ever ready to react with anything, whatever comes in the way. It could be our protective lipid membranes, it could be our DNA, it could be our proteins. Anything comes in its way, it reacts, combines with them, and makes them non-functional or defective, and also leads to diseases. So now, reactive oxygen species, we have got both environmental and also our body's own make. So environmental, basically it is ultraviolet radiation, pollution, and ionizing radiation, and chemicals. All these are environmental source of reactive oxygen species. Within our body, most important source of reactive oxygen species is our carbohydrate metabolism and energy production. These two processes produce maximum amount of reactive oxygen species, and they're called as reactive oxygen species because they are produced by the oxygen themselves. Okay. And when this reactive oxygen species overwhelms our antioxidant defense, which is normally there in our body in the form of enzymes and certain vitamins, you get the tilted balance, and this tilting is called oxidative stress. And this is responsible for the malfunctioning of many cells, and one of them is our keratinocytes and melanocytes, leading to vitiligo. Now here I have just shown what exactly happens in the lesion and the perilesion, which is already explained. In the lesion, you see loss of melanocytes because of the attack by reactive oxygen species generated tumor necrosis factor alpha, and the perilesion, that is at the border of the lesion or the skin adjacent to the lesion, there also disease process goes on. There is keratinocyte, there is loss of keratinocytes, which in turn inhibits the reduces the supply of growth factors for melanocyte, thereby making the melanocyte lose its capacity. So that's the reason when we see a vitiligo patient, they have a white patch, and when you trace the white patch, the margins become indistinct and spreading, to say that the disease process is going on. So it is not the defect only in the white skin, there is a defect in the surrounding skin too. Now, the course of the disease is basically fluctuates between activity and inactivity. And when the disease is inactive, you see some amount of follicular pigmentation happening by itself without any treatment also. But when the disease is active, you tend to show new patches. The existing patches may increase in size. You might show patches in different areas of the body. When this happens, we say the disease is active. And the activity and inactivity basically depends upon the oxidative stress and the mental stress. And this oxidative stress in turn is later I'll tell you how it happens when our eating habits are wrong. So for any patient, when they come to the treatment, so what I do is I first mark all the patches and keep a record of all the patches. And subsequently, when they come for follow-up, I see that they shouldn't show any new patches. And the existing patches, and the disease is stable, they start showing color, and borders become darker and darker. So I tell my patients, if you maintain a disease inactive for a period of 2 to 5 years, then it is like a long remission. And quite a few of them have almost said that their disease, I follow them up to, I've seen patients who are coming to me even after 5 years, 10 years, and they have not got back those patches again. And this happens when you keep your disease inactive consistently for 2 to 5 years. But during this period, even now, for example, the 6 months, the disease was stable, there was pigmentation, and there was no new patches. But on the 7th month, if you had new patch, then again, you don't fit into stability. Then again, your stability will be counted after that 7 months. So this is where I assess my patients' remission of the disease and stability. So when they are coming for follow-up to me from 2 to 5 years, if I don't see new patches at all, then they are also assured their disease is cured. And I'm also confident that the disease is almost cured. Now, how do I manage my patients' vitiligo? Now, first is normally I advise sunscreen. Now, when I advise sunscreen, actually, sometimes patients before coming to me would have already been told that you have to do phototherapy or exposed to sunlight to get the color. Now, here one mistake we doctors do, which I feel because only when we do in depth about the disease, probably we wouldn't do that. So first is when the disease is active. As I said, the disease becomes active when there is increased oxidative stress. And no other environmental is a strong oxidative stress generator than our ultraviolet radiation alone. So this ultraviolet radiation present in the sunlight is like a double-edged sword. We use this to treat the disease, and at the same time, this can worsen the disease. So when can it worsen the disease? Particularly when the disease is active or unstable, if we advise phototherapy, patients notice that suddenly the number of patches increase on the sun exposed areas. This is very commonly seen, very commonly seen. So in that case, I never recommend phototherapy to my patients in the first go. I see that their disease is stabilized at least for a 6 months to 1 year. And I'm not in a hurry to start phototherapy also. I wait the disease to get stabilized. And then only once I make sure they started repigmenting, only to hasten up the repigmentation, later I might add phototherapy, again, depending upon the extent of the disease and the patient's requirement. So I normally advise religious use of sunscreen to all my patients with vitiligo from 8 to 5. And they have to religiously use, whether indoors or outdoors, they have to use sunscreen regularly. And the other important things is, we have heard about pesticides and all those things. Not much we can do at our level. But what is more problematic is, people who have vitiligo are phenolic compounds can precipitate vitiligo. Now, I have seen patients, particularly these phenolic compounds are most commonly seen in rubber material, that like, rubber chappals, rubber bands, or rubber stickers and all. I've seen patients, initially they might develop leukoderma. We call it as chemical leukoderma, that is in areas of contact with rubber material. Then slowly they notice patches elsewhere. This basically, phenolic compounds are highly creates a lot of oxidative stress, and also it's a promoter of melanocyte death also. So that's why there are certain compounds which are phenolic we have to advise. And more so here, I would like to highlight on the fact that normally when we say antioxidant, we encourage people to take antioxidants, but there is a lot of things to be known about the most of these antioxidants are polyphenols. Okay, and particularly when I say oxidative stress, naturally patients tend to think, oh, how about taking antioxidant? But particularly those phenolic compounds, they can aggravate their disease rather than solving the disease. So phenolic compounds in a certain food, we have to keep a watch on that, and we have to avoid those also. Now, for the past 16 years ago, probably I was also treating my patients with vitiligo patients with what we call as mini pulse therapy, that is giving steroids in pulse regimen, that is 2 days in a week. And I see they improve, but they undergo a lot of adverse effects to that, and I have to keep a watch on that. And seeing the adverse effect, then I tend to stop the treatment. And when I stop the treatment, the disease comes back with a bang. So seeing all these things, I really today, till from the past 16 years, after going in depth into all this our metabolism and our disease at the molecular level, I have stopped giving steroids to my patients for treating vitiligo. And how I do treat my vitiligo is just by changing the lifestyle, and which I am going to tell you. And this is a quote: the doctor of the future will give no medicine, but will instruct his patient in the care of the human frame, in the diet and the cause and prevention of the. I think we all doctors need to highlight this part in treating many diseases. Because most of the diseases, only medicines don't help. We have to change the metabolic makeup, and we have to change things at a molecular and molecular level. Now, the most important diet which causes, now we blame pollutants, we blame smoking, we blame insecticide, we blame pesticides for all this oxidative stress or free radical damage and all. But we never blame the food what we eat, because this oxidative stress or free radical generation is nothing new for our body. So these are reactive oxygen species, what we call, or free radicals, what we call. They are all byproducts released during our carbohydrate metabolism and respiratory chain, that is energy production. So when they are produced, and in moderation, they are needed in our body. reactive oxygen species in moderation are needed in our body, because they are the second messengers, what we call, and they are important for various pathways in our body. So they are in moderate amount, reactive oxygen species is required. But what happens is, when we overproduce reactive oxygen species, and if our antioxidant system are overwhelmed, we have a state of what we call as oxidative stress. And this oxidative stress is a promoter of inflammation. And when we say inflammation, one thing common to all illnesses, what we call as cytokines, tumor necrosis factor alpha, and interleukin 1 and interleukin 6, which you will be hearing even now in situations like COVID also. So all these excess carbohydrate, particularly high glycemic food, that is sugars and fructose. Fructose particularly because it is pro-inflammatory directly by encouraging what we call a JNK pathway. We have a JNK pathway in our body which is pro-inflammatory. So fructose directly stimulates that pathway, and so it is pro-inflammatory. And sugars, by means of increased oxidative stress generation, they promote inflammation. So I tell my patients strictly to avoid all sugars and fruits completely. So, and I also give them comparison. It's all of us, when I say that, you must have heard our elderly telling that when honey touches the hair hair grows white. I tell them it is not the question that honey, when it touches the hair, it becomes white. Basically, sugar by means of oxidative stress encourages degeneration, and that encourages whitening of the hair. And that whitening is exactly what we see in vitiligo also. Melanocyte degeneration leading to loss of function, leading to white patches. So I strictly ask them to avoid sugars and fruits completely. And also I ask them to avoid refined grains, that is anything made up of maida and corn, because they are also high glycemic and pro-inflammatory. And I ask them to avoid anything which is made up of refined oil, because refined oil are omega-6, and omega-6 are pro-inflammatory. Now, moreover, all these autoimmune disease or auto-inflammatory syndromes, whatever we see in, whether it is in skin or within any systemic organ, is basically, it is said that imbalance of omega-3 and omega-6. The present diet, what we are doing, what we call Western diet, it is bombarded with lot of vegetable oils which are omega-6, which are pro-inflammatory, and we lack omega-3, and that's the reason we are promoting all these inflammatory syndromes, what we call. So I strictly ask them to avoid sugars and fruits, and no packaged and processed food, that is anything made up of maida and corn, and strictly refined oil, and trans fat, that is deep fried and processed food. And also I ask them to avoid milk and milky products completely, because they encourage T cell auto-reactivity, because I already said that autoimmunity is also underlying mechanism causing vitiligo, but here more than autoimmunity, it is auto T cell reactivity, which destroys the melanocyte easily. So I tell them to completely avoid dairy and dairy products. Then when I ask them to avoid this, now what will I ask them to eat? Now coming to a point on antioxidant, this I want to stress here, because when I say oxidative stress, I know definitely, because this is a hyped one. Antioxidants is a hyped one. People say antioxidants and eat this antioxidant, because antioxidants, unless you reduce the oxidative stress in our body by reducing the metabolic stress, whatever amount of antioxidant you take, it is not going to help you. Because recently there was a study also where they said the cancers can be prevented, recurrence can be prevented by giving antioxidant. But there was one study where they said a patient with lung cancer was given antioxidant, and saw that his disease never stopped progressing. The question was, the smoking was continuing. So without stopping smoking, giving antioxidant is not going to help. It's going to be deleterious. So unless you reduce your oxidative stress, no antioxidant is going to help. And moreover, antioxidant taking inadvertently also is not good, because I said certain amount of oxidative stress in our body is a defensive. It is required as a defense against invasion of microorganisms, it is required for certain amount of reactive oxygen synthesis is required for certain pathways to work well. So it's not that we have to take antioxidant on daily basis or overdose ourselves with antioxidant, because it is not proved. And moreover, the antioxidants what we take and what is the form required and where it is required, how is it required, everything is, so many things are unexplainable. So that is the reason antioxidants, just taking antioxidants is not going to help any diseases. So we have to reduce oxidative stress and encourage our body's own antioxidant not to get overwhelmed. Now, what is the ideal food I normally tell? And this is strict advice for my patients with vitiligo. So go for traditional whole grain food and also dals, that is which we have been eating for over the years. And I ask them to include, whoever eats who are all non-vegetarian, include lot of fish in their diet. And fish is omega-3, is actually anti-inflammatory. And moreover, here the question is, I get to see many patients, when I said eat fish, they would have heard a lot of misconceptions about this food. One common misconception is, patients they said, oh, can I eat fish, doctor? Because I was told that eating fish and eating curds after eating fish will lead to vitiligo. So these are the misconceptions. So I said, no, fish you have to take. Fish is a very good food and it is anti-inflammatory. So that is a food which I encourage. And people who can't take fish, I normally give them supplements also. And next important food is egg. And again here, egg, particularly important to vitiligo, how it helps is, now egg yellow contains what we call as beta carotene, which is a normal antioxidant, which is in a digestible form. Okay, that is what we have to take. It contains beta carotene. Second thing is, it's a vitamin D. Vitamin D also is supposed to be protective against melanocytes. Okay, and third important thing is albumin of the egg is very important for our within the cell calcium channels, because there are certain things which work through the calcium channels. There are certain things which enter into the calcium channels. So these calcium channels, albumin is very important. So when people have a lot of oxidative stress, what is found is their albumin level comes down. That's because that creates a defect in quite a few interconnected pathways, leading to deficiency in calcium channels, which in turn leads to more oxidative stress. So I encourage mothers to give the children daily egg, at least to adults. I tell them to take 2 to 3 eggs, because that's a very rich source which is going to protect us against the ongoing process. And the other thing is meat. This is also another misconception. People would have been told when they would have gone for alternative medicines or anything which is they would say that meat is reason for all these diseases, and they ask them to stop meat completely. So people who have been eating meat, they stop eating meat, and they start consuming more of other alternative sources, like consuming more dairy and more carbohydrates, and aggravating their disease and coming. So if they are meat eaters, they should be encouraged to eat meat. And also you should include lot of nuts, because nuts are wholesome food. They are packed with what we call as minerals. Okay, because minerals like manganese, zinc, copper, all these are rich in nuts, and all these metals are required as cofactors for antioxidants. Our body's own antioxidants to function properly, we need all these minerals. So these are richly present in the nuts, like your cashew nuts, almonds, pista, walnut. There are many other nuts which are not available in India, but if you can access macadamia nuts, there are so many nuts. So other than the groundnut, because groundnut is omega-6 and that shouldn't be consumed. So you should include more nuts, and also you should include lots of vegetables. So vegetables are again rich source of our digestible antioxidants, and also they are rich source of minerals, which I said they are all required for our body's own antioxidants to function properly. And also to change the oil for cooking oil as coconut oil, or it could be olive oil, or also I sometimes tell in moderation they can use ghee also, because these are what we call a saturated fat, and saturated fat, when they're subjected for heat, they don't release too much of free radicals. Though eating on a daily basis is not good, but it would be preferably they could take a coconut oil for frying, or whenever you have to overcook it, it's better to choose coconut oil rather than going for refined oil. And this is about misconception, which I already told. That is misconception is one is about tamarind. Patients are told not to take tamarind and not to take vitamin C. Again, this is wrong. Vitamin C is actually natural antioxidant, vitamin C. So that can be taken. And they were also told not to take chicken meat, which is again wrong, and also not to take fish, which is again wrong. So they have to include all, as I mentioned, those are the ideal food to see that you lead a oxidative stress reduced metabolism and do not precipitate or aggravate the vitiligo. Now I'll show pictures of some patient, and also I would like to highlight few lines on that. This one patient, actually he got vitiligo at a very young age probably, and he had it for almost more than 15 years when he came to me, and he had tried all treatments. And unfortunately, despite of doing treatment, his efforts, his disease went on progressing, and he had given up hope. And somebody said that he has to come here, and he came to me, and I investigated him, because now any patient with vitiligo, I do certain blood test to find out the fact about whether the disease is related to what we call as more of oxidative stress or it is autoimmunity. I get the fasting lipid profile, fasting blood sugar done, and also I do thyroid function and anti-thyroglobulin antibody and anti-topoisomerase antibody. So when I do this, all vitiligo patients, I do that. When I do this, people with anti-thyroglobulin antibody positive, anti-topoisomerase, very few are with that antibodies. Most of them do have, either they have early signs of what we call as insulin resistance or metabolic syndrome, that they have sugar will be on the higher side, more than 100, or they will be having very HDL, low HDL, or they would be having more high triglycerides. So all features of what we call as insulin resistance and metabolic syndrome. Again, here in the end, I will show you how they are related. So they're all related. So the insulin resistance in turn also leads to what we call as pro-inflammatory state in our body, which can add to oxidative stress and precipitate the disease. This patient, I advised him the strict diet to follow, and because he is a non-veg, I asked him to take fish and good food like whatever I mentioned, and also I gave him certain nutraceuticals to help him recover. And this is what he shows me, I think, after a follow-up of I think 1.5 years or so. And I think he is almost, this is one part of the body I'm showing, but he had extensive, he had on the chest, he had on the back, and extensive. It was almost, I can say, only 20 to 30% of the skin were remaining. Most of the body was involved. And he has done it consistently, and this is the improvement he's showing. This is again now, sadly, in a month almost I see 2 or 3 new patients. And in this 2 or 3 patients, most of them are children and pre-pubertal boys and girls, or those who are just reached the puberty. So it is well-known fact that most of the vitiligo patients, they come before 20 years. And most 50% of them will be having it before 20 years, and almost by 30 years, 2/3 of them would have got the disease. So it is a disease which occurs in the younger age only, and in some of them they occur in later age, and the people who get it later age has really good prognosis, because it is invariably related to oxidative stress. So this is a child came to me at the age of, I think, 1.5 to 2 years, and strictly advised the mother and I think this child's mother also had gestational hyperglycemia when she was carrying this baby, and she was convinced, and she did, and the child improved. And I think the child was following up even when the child was 5 to 6 years old, and the lesions have not come back. Now in this picture, I would like to show here, this is a patient, you can see white patch on the scalp. This is in addition to white patches elsewhere, and also came, I think, at the onset of the disease, that is within 6 months to 1 year, and also did treatment elsewhere because it was progressing. She came, advised her the diet, and now what you find here, this is during the follow-up. Now you can see the color of the hair. Now, if you see the color of the hair here, and if you see the color of the hair here, you can see a total dark coloration of the hair. Now here you can see the altered color. This is exactly what happens. So the food habits, what they do, give them, I've seen this patients do good overall. They tend to have a thick hair, they tend to have the hair becomes black and the patches improve. Otherwise, this area is really difficult area to treat because we can't give phototherapy to this area. So she has improved without phototherapy and without steroid, and this is by changing the eating habits. And this is another child. Again, this child was brought to me at the age of 5 to 6 years. You can see this child. Hey, this looks like, you can see that it's a, though you might consider the child is coming from a well-to-do background, but it is nutritional. I can say this child is nutritional deficient. This is what exactly we are having, relative nutritional deficiency. What I mean is we are eating food, we eat food, but we are not eating what is really required. This is during the follow-up of the child. You can see the patches has disappeared. In addition to that, the color of the hair has changed completely. It's completely darkened, but still you can see a little bit of brownish here. The treatment is going on. This is another child. Again here, this child lucky came to me at this stage because we call in vitiligo we have got different types of vitiligo, and one particular vitiligo is what we call lip and tip of the vitiligo. When I say lip and tip, it usually involves the tips and the tips of the finger. And getting color in these areas is very difficult because there is lack of hair. In areas where we have hair follicles, hair bulb, rich in melanocytes, they are the rich donors, and we tend to get color fast in those areas. But in there is areas where we don't have enough hair follicles, then those areas are really resistant to treatment, even resistant to phototherapy also. Sometimes we may have to do grafting also. But this is a child, no phototherapy. At the most, when the child disease became stable, last few sessions, I asked the mother to do guarded sunlight treatment by applying local what we call as Sorolin compounds, and then guarded exposure to sunlight. This was done towards the later stages when the disease was stabilized, and of course that was done only for few sessions. Now the child is almost, I can say the child is almost cured. No new patches. It's almost 2.5 years of follow-up is going on, but I asked them to continue to follow up. Initially, when they are having disease process once in 2 months, then once they are stabilized, once in 3 months, once in 6 months, when they are cured, then I ask them to come at least and see me once in 6 months to once in a year to check that they have maintained everything well. These are some other patients. These are all pre-teenage or teenage patients. And again, these came to me when the disease was going on increase. Now we can see here, this is what we call a spreading disease. And this is after the treatment again. And now also here also I can show the color change in the surrounding skin and the color change over here. This is a normal color change. So here also you can see there's a color change of the surrounding skin. And this is a pale looking skin is in the process. It's actually in the process of, losing melanocyte. That is exactly where I said keratinocytes are responsible for reduced growth factors, which makes the melanocytes non-functional. This is another patient. Again, this is also a difficult area to treat. And this is, you can see the dark coloration. This is in between the treatment. This is at the end of the treatment, almost done. There is little more patch remaining. And this is again, no phototherapy for hands because no phototherapy works well for the hand. And again, with the taking care of the eating habits and supplements. And now this slide I purposefully put here because this patient has got both features of what this is what I call last time I mentioned about when we're talking about COVID. the skin markers of insulin resistance, and this is one of the marker, what we call as insulin resistance, giving rise to thickening of the skin. This thickening of the skin is because of defective cell cycle. We have a skin cycle once in 4 weeks. If everything is normal, it should fall in time. But when you have defective cells, that's a highly hyperproliferative state, they tend to produce thickening of the skin like this. And this patient had a vitiligo patch also. This is exactly to highlight, it is more and more becoming clearer and clearer that insulin resistance is responsible for precipitating vitiligo and also aggravating vitiligo, and more and more important than only autoimmune process. Now, this is just an highlight, which I think when we talked about COVID, this is all skin conditions which are manifestation of insulin resistance. And in this, you can see here the conditions like vitiligo and alopecia areata, though they are autoimmune disease, but they are also come under insulin. And it's a mutual thing, insulin resistance leading to what we call as pro-inflammatory status leading to oxidative stress. It's like a trial, it goes on, it's like a vicious cycle. And these are the conditions which I come across these patients only coming to me. Acne, acanthosis nigricans, psoriasis, hidradenitis, which is also which again comes. It's a very severe type of acne occurring in the axilla and other areas of hormone sensitive areas. And also we see this male pattern baldness and ladies having hyperandrogenism. All these are manifestation of insulin resistance, which in turn related to our lifestyle. This is again, I put it like this. This is all, it's like, arrows, they point to each other. So reactive oxygen species leading to inflammation, inflammation in turn leading to unwanted growth and defective apoptosis, and also which in turn lead to reactive oxygen species. So, and reactive species are also caused by our metabolism and external agent. So this is actually a vicious cycle. So in the end, I would like to tell everybody, vitiligo, don't worry. If you can strictly follow the lifestyle change, you definitely can beat it, and you can, to the extent that you can even, if you very early stage, if you recognize and do these changes, you can even cure it. So I would like to tell everybody, whatever message you have, if you have your relatives, if you have your friends with vitiligo, give them a ray of hope and encourage them to follow a healthy lifestyle and help them to come out of this condition, which is really a benign condition. And with this, I conclude, and I would I will be here to answer the questions.
ಯಾರ್ದಾದ್ರೂ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳಿದೆಯಾ? ಇದುವರೆಗೆ ಯಾರು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳನ್ನು ಕೇಳಿಲ್ಲ. ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳಿದ್ದರೆ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಟೈಪ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ಸರಿ, ಇಷ್ಟೊತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಇದ್ದದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಇದರ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಒಂದಕ್ಕೆ ಲಭ್ಯ ಇರಲಿದೆ. ಸೊ ವಿಟಿಲಿಗೋ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಬಾಲಸರಸ್ವತಿ ತನ್ನ ವಿಶೇಷ ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ಮತ್ತು ಅವರು ಕೊಡುವಂಥ ಒಂದು ವಿಶಿಷ್ಟವಾದ ಚಿಕಿತ್ಸೆ ಅದು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಪರಿಣಾಮ ಬೀರ್ತದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳೋದನ್ನು ಉದಾಹರಣೆಗಳ ಸಮೇತವಾಗಿ ತೋರಿಸಿಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ತಾಳ್ಮೆಯಿಂದ ಇಷ್ಟೊತ್ತು ನೀವು ಕೇಳಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನು ಸಲ್ಲಿಸಿ, ಒಬ್ಬರು ಸುಗಂಧಿ ಐತಾಳ್ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ.
Can it occur as a slowly growing white patches on the skin over a period of more than 15 years? Yes, of course. I said no. It's basically has a chronic course. In some people, it can come and remain static on its own, and then with the episodes of precipitating factors can get aggravated. So it can, and in some people it can resolve on its own also. Particularly for type of vitiligo, what we call as focal type of vitiligo, it can resolve on its own or grow slowly over a period of more than 15 years.
ಉಮಾ ಅವರು ಕೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅದು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ತೋರಿಸ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು. ಅಳಿಯನಿಗೆ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಆಯುರ್ವೇದ ವೈದ್ಯ 2 ವರ್ಷ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಈಗ ಕಣ್ಣಿಗೆ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ.
ನೀವು ಇವಾಗ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇವಾಗ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾದದ್ದು ನಾನೀಗ ಹೇಳಿದಾನೆ, ಆಹಾರ ಪಥ್ಯವನ್ನು ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿ, ಸಕ್ಕರೆ ಅಂಶ, ಹಣ್ಣು ಮತ್ತೆ ಬಿಸ್ಕೆಟ್ಸ್, ಬ್ರೆಡ್ ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟಾಪ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ನಾನೀಗ ಕೊಟ್ಟ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಹಾಗೆ ನಾನು ಆರೋಗ್ಯದ ಫುಡ್ ಏನು ಉಂಟು ಅದನ್ನ ಸೇವಿಸ್ಲಿ. ನಾನು ಕೆಲವು ಪೇಷಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿದ್ದೇನೆ, ಅವರಿಗೆ ಫಸ್ಟಿಗೆ ನಾನು ರೈಟ್ ಅವೇ ಎಲ್ಲ ಪೇಷಂಟ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಟ್ರೀಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಡಯಟ್ ಅಡ್ವೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ 2-3 ತಿಂಗಳ ನಂತರ ಫಾಲೋಅಪಿಗೆ ಬರ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳ್ತೇನೆ. ಅವರ ಫಾಲೋಅಪಿಗೆ ಬಂದಾಗ ಅವರು ನೋಟಿಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಅವರೇ ಬಂದು ನಂಗೆ ತೋರಿಸ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ನೋಡಿ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕಲರ್ ಬಂದಿದೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಡಾರ್ಕ್ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಬಣ್ಣ ಬಂದಿದೆ ಅಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡು. ಸೊ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ನೀವು ಆಹಾರ ಪಥ್ಯನ್ನು ರೈಟ್ ನಾವು ಇವತ್ತಿನಲ್ಲೇ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದ ಆಹಾರದ ಪಥ್ಯದ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನು ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಬಂದು ವೈದ್ಯರಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದು ತೋರಿಸ್ಬಹುದು. ಅದನ್ನ ನೋಡಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಟ್ರೀಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ನೋಡಿದ ನಂತರನೇ ಕೊಡ್ಬೋದು, ಗುಣಪಡಿಸಲು ಸಾಧ್ಯವಿದೆ.
ಸರಿ,
ಅವನಿಗೆ 11 ವರ್ಷದವನನ್ನು ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು?
ಅದೇ ಅವನು ಹುಡುಗ, ಸಣ್ಣ ಹುಡುಗ ಅಂತ ಕಾಣ್ತಾರೆ. ಅಳಿಯ ಅಂದ್ರೆ
ಅಲ್ಲ, ನನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದ ಮಕ್ಕಳೆಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೇನೆ, ನನ್ನ ಅಲ್ಲಿ 2, 3, 4, 5 ಸಣ್ಣ ಮಕ್ಕಳು. ಅದೇ ತುಂಬಾ ದುಃಖದಾಯಕರ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಅದೇ ಸಣ್ಣ ಮಕ್ಕಳಲ್ಲಿ. ನಾನು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಇವಾಗ ಕೆಲವೊಮ್ಮೆ ಅನಿಸ್ತದೆ ನನ್ಗೆ, ನಾನು ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಹಿರಿಯರನ್ನೇ ದೂರ್ತೇನೆ. ಯಾಕೆಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನಾವೊಂದು ಮಗುವಿಗೆ ಅತ್ತಾಗ ಕೊಡುವ ಒಂದು ಚಾಕ್ಲೇಟ್ ಅಥವಾ ಹೀಗೆ ಬಾಯಿ ಮುಚ್ಚಿಸ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಕೊಡೋ ಒಂದು ಸಿಹಿ ಪದಾರ್ಥ, ನಾವದು ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಏನೋ ಒಂದು ಆಲೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡದೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಬಿಡ್ತೇವೆ. ಅದೇ ಒಂದು ಎಷ್ಟು ತೊಂದರೆ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ, ನಾನು ಕೆಲವು ಮಕ್ಕಳು ವಿಟಿಲಿಗೋ ಪೇಷಂಟ್ ನೋಡಿದ್ದೇನೆ, ಹೆತ್ತವ್ರು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಚಾಕ್ಲೇಟ್ ತುಂಬಾ ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ತುಂಬಾ ತಿಂದಿದ್ದಾನೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಂಡು. ಸೊ ಇದು ನಾವು ಹೆತ್ತವ್ರ ಇದನ್ನೊಂದು ತಿಳಿಬೇಕು. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಮಕ್ಕಳನ್ನು ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಅವರನ್ನ ಬಾಯಿ ಮುಚ್ಚಿಸ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅಥವಾ ಅಳು ತಡಿಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅಥವಾ ರಿವಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಿಹಿ ತಿಂಡಿ, ಅದು ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ಲಿ ಚಾಕ್ಲೇಟ್ ನಂತ ತಿಂಡಿ ಕೊಡ್ಲೇಬೇಡಿ. ಯಾಕೆಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಒಂದು 2-3 ವಾರ ಅದನ್ನ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಾಗ 4ನೇ ವಾರ ಅದು ಕೊಡದಿದ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಅದನ್ನ ಹೋಗಿ ಅಂಗಡಿಯಿಂದ ದುಡ್ಡು ಕೊಟ್ಟು ತಾವೇ ತಂದು ತಿಂತವೆ. ಸೊ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಶುಗರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಡಿಕ್ಷನ್ ಪೊಟೆನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಉಂಟು. ಸೊ ದಯಮಾಡಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ಶುಗರ್ ಕೊಡೋದನ್ನ ಸಿಹಿ ಪದಾರ್ಥ ಅಥವಾ ಚಾಕ್ಲೇಟ್ ಜ್ಯೂಸು ಕೊಡೋದನ್ನ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಮುಂದೆ ಬರುವ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಅನ್ನ ನಾವು ತಡಿಬಹುದು. ಅದನ್ನ ನಾನು ಹೇಳಲು ಬಯಸ್ತೇನೆ. ಸೊ 11 ವರ್ಷ ಮಗು ಆದದ್ದು ಕೇಳಿ ಬೇಸರ, ಬಟ್ ಅದನ್ನ ಗುಣಪಡಿಸಬಹುದು. ಈ ಒಂದು ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನು ಉಪಯೋಗ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದನ್ನ ಆಹಾರ ಪದ್ಧತಿಯನ್ನು ಚೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೇನೆ. Most people believe it can be cured by Ayurvedic treatment, what's your opinion? I have patients who have gone to Ayurvedic treatment also and come back. In Ayurvedic treatment they advise phototherapy. ಅವರು ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಸೊರಾಲಿನ್ ಕಾಂಪೌಂಡ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ, ಅದು ಸ್ಕಿನ್ ಅನ್ನ ಅಲ್ಟ್ರಾವೈಲೆಟ್ ರೇಸ್ಗೆ ಸೆನ್ಸಿಟೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಬಣ್ಣ ಬರ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಉಪಯೋಗ ಮಾಡುವಂತ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್, ಅದನ್ನು ಸೊರಾಲಿನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ. ಈ ಆಯುರ್ವೇದಿಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದು ಅವರು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಸೂರ್ಯನ ಬೆಳಕಿನ ಕಿರಣಕ್ಕೆ ತೋರಿಸಲು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಕೆಲವು ಜಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಣ್ಣ ಬರ್ತದೆ, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಬಣ್ಣ ಬರ್ತದೆ, ಬಟ್ ಕಾಯಿಲೆ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಆಗದಿದ್ದಾಗ ಮತ್ತೆ ಅಲೋಪತಿಗೆ ತಿರುಗಿ ಬರ್ತಾರೆ. ಆಯುರ್ವೇದಿಕ್ ಇನಿಷಿಯಲಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಬಟ್ ಯಾವಾಗ ಕಾಯಿಲೆ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ, ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಆವಾಗ ಮತ್ತೆ ಅಲೋಪತಿಗೆ ತಿರುಗಿ ಬರ್ತಾರೆ.
ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ದಿನೇಶ್ ಕದಂ, ಸಿರಾಜ್, ಮಂಜು ಸ್ವರ್ಣ,
ಅಲ್ಲ, ಈ ಲೈವ್ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಹೋಪ್ಫುಲಿ ನಾನು ನನ್ನ ಮೆಸೇಜ್ ಮಾಡಿದೆ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ನಂಬುತ್ತೇನೆ. ಈ 2 ಮಾತಿನಿಂದ ನನ್ನ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಅನ್ನು ನಾನು ಎಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೇನೆ.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.